Hello everybody, it's me. Today I decided to be basic and turn Hollow Knight characters into human character designs. I know like every single Hollow Knight fan artist has done this before, but shut up, I'm gonna do it too. Anyways, these are my takes on it, hope you guys enjoy. So for this video, I decided to do the three siblings, so Little Ghost, Hornet, and the Hollow Knight, and what better way to start with our main character, everyone's favorite murder baby, Little Ghost. Now, like the pro YouTuber artist I am, I immediately did not understand my software since I just switched from Procreate to Clip Studio Paint, and forgot to turn on the time-lapse when I was drawing Little Ghost. So enjoy this little sketch I drew of his shade. Now, for Little Ghost, the general consensus on the internet whenever I googled Hollow Knight human character designs was a little guy with white hair that's kind of curly. And you know, I kind of like that idea, so we're gonna go with that. So for Little Ghost design, I decided to kind of channel their in-game design with the gray-blue cloak, I guess, and keeping the hair white to kind of match with the mask. For the vessels that I'm drawing, I've decided to not give them an actual skin tone, since in canon they probably wouldn't have one, so I just decided to make them the deep gray of the void. I also drew their mask kind of in the same way, but I made it so that there wasn't any straps on it because it's kind of stuck to their face, because that's what's keeping the void in. I also decided to add some armor pieces on their legs and on their arms, because, you know, they're a knight. I feel like they should have some of that. I also gave them kind of this Girl Scout sash, I don't know, I kind of like it, where they keep their charms. I think that's a good representation of charm notches. Maybe you get a nicer sash every time? I don't know. Then in the corner, I decided to draw Little Ghost if they were able to take their mask off, what I thought their eyes would look like, so I gave them a kind of childlike appearance because they're just a little baby boobop. And then the sketch that I'm doing in the video, you can see me draw them as their shade. And this is my finished design for Little Ghost. Now we're gonna move on to Hornet's design. Now, for Hornet, I kind of was trying to channel one of her reference images from Google if you see her standing with her needle behind her back, so I tried to do a similar pose to that. I couldn't decide if it was supposed to be a cloak or a dress. I asked my brother and he said probably a cloak, so I tried to give it kind of a cloak skirt look, but it was still good for mobility so she could shaw her way around and murder me 300 times. For her skin tone, I wanted to make her look kind of mixed because, you know, she's half worm, half spider, as you do. And I didn't want to do the logic of, oh, well, they're underground, so they're all super pasty. I wanted to give some variety with skin tones, so I decided to give her a skin tone more close to my own. As well as I did with Little Ghost, I also made her horns actually part of her. Like, if you looked at her skeleton, she would still have horns like that. I didn't give her any armor because I feel like she's too speedy for that, you know? I feel like she needs to be more mobile, hence the cloak. I also gave her the Weaver Song charm, seemed like the right thing to do since everyone draws her like that anyways. I also drew her like I did with Ghost with her mask off just to see her eyes. Decided to give her these gray, dark gray eyes because it kind of matched her in-game black eyes. Just want to have a mask in-game. How have we not reached a general consent? Anyways, I decided to also give her one of her little, spiky orb of silk that she uses in Hornet 2 fight. And yeah, that's my Hornet design complete. Now finally we can move on to the Hollow Knight. The Hollow Knight was one of my favorites to draw, if I'm being honest here. I decided to draw them in their kind of like hunched over, dying pose when they're, if you look up their sprite sheet, that's kind of just their idle stance. I also wanted to give them kind of similar armor that I did to Ghost to kind of show that they're both vessels. And just like Ghost and Hornet, I decided to give them the long white hair that I see everyone doing for the Hollow Knight. And, you know, kind of to relate siblings. Their armor is kind of a jankier version of Ghost, just to kind of nod that, you know, two vessels, they both are knights, they both get armor. Except the Ghost is nice and shiny, and the Hollow Knight's is falling apart. Gave them kind of raggedy clothes like they do in-game, and I made sure to exclude that one arm. I don't know if there's a general consensus on which arm they're missing, because I think the sprite just flips in-game depending on which way they're facing, but most people draw them with their left arm missing, so I just went with that. I also drew them briefly without their mask, just to show the infection in their eyes. I also kind of drew them holding their head, like trying to fight the radiance or going casually insane in the black egg. And that is my Hollow Knight design complete. Bonus character design. Here is a sketch I did of the Hollow Knight, but the Pure Vessel. For the Pure Vessel, I wanted to make them look as cool as possible, and generally when I look on the internet, I see a lot of people making the Pure Vessel look really pretty, and I feel like that's a good way to show them. I just feel like it reflects them really well. So I tried to make them look as, like, princely as possible, you know, royalty. I gave them the king's, not the king's brand, but the king's seal on their chest right above their nail to kind of show, you know, royalty. And their hair, I loved drawing their hair. Hair is like my favorite thing to draw. Shading hair is always fun. That's why I like giving my characters long hair. So drawing their hair was definitely fun. I also made their armor much more intact and gave them their little shoulder pads. You know, their shoulder pads are actually used to hold them up with the chains. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, kind of mean. And there we go. That is all 3 of my Hollow Knight characters as humans. Comment which one was your favorite, and who knows, maybe I'll do another one.